Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome to At the Cross.
I'm Hannah.
I'm not. I'm Chris. That probably gets old after a while.
It really does.
I'm
I think
already
you say
bored
that
of
every
it.
day. It is what it is, honestly.
All right, we'll stop that.
Well, how about we start a new thing? Tell us a joke.
What do ducks eat for lunch?
Quackers.
Yeah.
They're probably laughing.
Yeah, they probably
Put a
are.
laughing emoji in the comments. Make him feel
Please.
better.
Please.
Yeah. So,
where are we at? We have been talking about science.
Yes.
Talking about science and Christianity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Scripture, the Bible, the history from a Christian perspective. And really the whole goal of this series is to just talk about how they're not exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to give up believing in science to believe in God.
Yeah.
In fact, God created science.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of these examples are just that, examples, illustrations of how these things could, do and can coexist. And there's arguments on both sides.
Yep.
And that doesn't matter. Again, the point is not saying, hey, this is how it happened. The point is saying smart people are combining science and Christianity.
Yeah.
Or living in a world where they believe both in God and they are scientists.
Yeah.
And so, what are we talking about? Well, last week we talked about Joshua.
Yeah, Joshua.
And the sun standing still for a day.
Yeah.
And, your article that you were talking about spent some time talking about how that could have been
An eclipse.
an eclipse.
Yeah.
Who cares, right?
Right.
I mean, the Bible says it stood still. I can't read Hebrew, but I don't care.
Right.
It was all the whole entire day, which is, even if it was an
Insane.
eclipse, it's insane. But two, again, there's scientific evidence for something happening. I mean, so, and that, again, that's what's
the
really
main
cool.
point of that was just that you can use the Bible as a primary source, and you can figure things out, because that was changing the way that we're viewing Egyptian rulers and a whole panoply. Is that a word?
It is now.
Tell me what word I'm thinking of. Someone's got to know, because I don't. But anyways, Penelope, whatever. A lot. It changed a lot of things. So if we use the Bible as a primary source, we can figure a lot of things out. Because
It's the whole point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs. Okay.
In case you can't tell, I like dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are cool. And they're dead. So that sucks for them.
It does.
How did they die?
Well, there are
printed
a
out
lot
one
of
of those.
different ways.
Yes. But the most famous. What's like the most famous? Like you've got all the comics. I should have printed out one of the comics that I was thinking of. 'Cause it was
There
really
was a
funny
really nice 4-star restaurant that hunted them
Something
too much.
Too much.
That's my vote.
Okay. What?
Have you ever had stuffed T-Rex legs?
I have not. I heard they taste like chicken.
I heard that too.
I think everything tastes like chicken, but no, because it's the meteor. Everyone knows the meteor.
Right.
You've got your all of the little comics and stuff. We got Dinosaur 1 and Dinosaur 2, and Dinosaur 1 goes, "Oh, look, a shooting star, make a wish," and Dinosaur 2, being the edgy teenager he is, goes, "Oh, I wish we would die," and then they laugh and laugh for a panel, and then Dinosaur 1 goes, "That star is getting really big, isn't it?" And then
So after the meteor drops and they all die and the blood flows across the land, and now you have meteors and sauce?
Ketchup.
Ketchup and meat.
No, that's not really what it is.
So what is it?
But okay, we're gonna get to that in just a second. But first thing we need to do is look at why we think it's a meteor in the first place. Okay. So we think that the crash site would have been in the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. this event would have made extinct roughly 75% of all living things, which is about 24.99999, I don't know how many people were there, or like Noah or whatever, percent of things. So we're relatively close to where we should be for the flood, because that's where we're ultimately going, is flood, but we're getting to that. Okay. So the reason we think that crater in the Yucatan Peninsula is the crash site is because there are huge amounts of iridium which come from meteors. So why am I bringing the flood into this? What does this have anything to do with the Bible or dinosaurs? But why does this have to do with the Bible? Well, scientists are saying that it is possible that the meteor would have crashed and caused a massive tsunami that would have caused tidal waves to, quote, reach coastal lines all over the world. So what I'm hearing is there is a large flood reaching the earth.
Very interesting.
It's kind of funny if you think about it. And then on the flip side, because you still have to have the 40 days of rain. That was
and
kind of
water's being poured from heaven also.
Yes.
So, just to be clear, you're not suggesting that a meteor hitting the earth and causing tsunamis is the flood event.
No. That is not the flood event.
No.
But it certainly wouldn't have helped.
Certainly would not have.
Could not have helped. Actually, the National Center for Science Education says, quote, yes, Noah's flood may have happened, but not over the whole earth with baby steps. We're getting there.
We're getting there.
We're getting there. Because remember, the whole point of this is if science disagrees with the Bible, just wait. Because at first it was, no way Noah's flood could have happened. That's stupid. And now it's, okay, maybe, but not over the whole earth.
No,
that's stupid. Just the I'm sure it's a very large regional event, but it's a regional event. Anyways. So, from their perspective, there is evidence for a one-of-a-kind flood because, God said that it would never happen again. It had never happened before, would never happen again. So there is evidence for a one-of-a-kind flood in the area Noah would have lived. And they're also saying that it makes sense why it took a full year to recede, for the waters to recede, because we still see poor drainage today in that, like, in what we would have expected. So if you combine the fact that scientists are agreeing that there's good evidence for a huge flood, with then the meteor that would have caused a bunch of tidal waves, like it's not far off to connect the lines, I guess, to see how a worldwide flood is not as unimaginable as it might be thought. You look like you have thoughts.
Nope. I think that's, it's interesting to see how, like you said, the baby steps, how they're saying, okay, maybe it happened, but it was regional. And that's a big step from it never happened before. It's a myth. And again, what's really interesting about this is then, as you start contemplating this, you want to make sure that you go back to the Bible, right? And say, well, if the Bible said the water came from under the earth and above the earth, then that itself doesn't explain it. So maybe it didn't happen at all. Maybe it was not, or maybe there was a meteor, but it didn't cause, or wasn't even part of the cause. But maybe it was. Again, it doesn't matter. Because what we're finding too is with the flood, there's a recent study that talks about the crust of the earth and how it holds,
not the crust, the core.
The core, and how it, not the core, but also the mantle. The mantle, and how it seems to be holding unimaginable amounts of water.
Yeah, because we initially, in middle school we were taught, the core of the earth is molten iron, and then you've got, this and then blah blah blah. we've been studying, in the field of seismology and everything, it's not as perfect as they were imagining it to be. There's a lot of valleys and stuff. And one thing that they're now kind of realizing is inside the Earth, there is an absolutely insane amount of water. Now, that's not to say if we drill through to the center of the Earth, there's just going to be like an ocean in there. What they're thinking is it's rock that's basically a sponge. And then that just has copious amounts of water, which would explain how the water was coming up from the
where
Earth.
It went
after
the flood. Exactly.
There's a lot of evidence
and
for.
And so who knows, right? There seems to be some sort of iron metal core, because we do have magnetism. We have the shield around the Earth. And I'm not a scientist, so I'm making some of the stuff up. But there's still a lot we don't know. And scientists are good to admit that. They'll admit they don't know, but they also admit that it's not God. So, so we'll see. But yeah, just recently they're talking about somewhere, around the Earth, in the Earth somewhere, it seems like there may be vast amounts of water. And so, God talking in the Bible, talking about God, getting the waters, coming up. Well, there we may have found it, right? Science may have found it. And so no more can they say, that never happened, because where did the water go? You guys just found it. So it's really interesting. It's interesting to see that. And then, you back to your dinosaurs too. It's like, okay, well, dinosaurs, but there was still a flood at some point, and the dinosaurs still somehow survived because Noah had 2 of every animal.
And that's actually what the next little section of this is. We know that dinosaurs died. A lot of dinosaurs either drowned or died and then were very quickly submerged in water. But there still are some that weren't, which is bizarre, but when you look at it from a creationist perspective, it's really not. The way that we know that a lot of dinosaurs died either in water or died and then immediately were waterized. That's not a
floaties on.
Yeah, they had the dino death pose, which sounds weird, but it's actually really cool. So the most famous example is that of the Archaeopteryx, because we've got, this is the first example of a fossil, I'm pretty sure, where we can see the feathers, but that's besides the point. So you can see here, his head, that's his neck right there, and his head is almost touching his spine, which does not look comfortable.
No.
In my scientific opinion. But then there's also, so that's the Archaeopteryx, and then we also have the Albertosaurus, which is doing the exact same thing. Where his head is almost, if you imagine this with muscle and flesh and everything, his head would be touching his back, which is not great. And it's not super easy to do that, especially if you have a long neck. So what in the world happened? Obviously, a lot of theories have been thrown out. Maybe their muscles were different. Maybe their tendons weren't as whatever. But the one thing that I think people are settling on is that they died and were dropped in water, or they drowned. And the reason that we think this is, in Utah, there were a group of scientists that took chicken carcasses, because chickens have a similar skeletal and muscular system as we presume dinosaurs did. And they dropped the chicken carcasses in water, and within seconds they did the death pose. And these are, the Albertosaurus is, I'm pretty sure it's kind of a big dinosaur, but you would have dinosaurs even as big as the Diplodocus, which is very big. He would not fit in this room. I think like 30 feet long or something, that did the exact same thing. And it was weird because he had such a long neck that it almost like curled. It was, ugh. But anyways, dino death pose. Why did so many dinosaurs end up in water after their death? But anyways, there's a lot of, we just have to piece all of the things together, so we'll just wait.
Very interesting. We just wait.
So we just wait.
We just wait.
I love dinosaurs.
Do you have a dinosaur joke?
No, but you do.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
I don't remember it.
Okay, hang on. I have it up. Okay. I don't have it on here. Oh, darn it. Oh, wait. No. Yep, found it. Do you think Heosaurus Rex?
I don't think Heosaurus Rex.
Come
All right,
back
we're
for
done.
more dinosaur jokes.
Bye.
Bye.